Happy Monday, everybody. You're listening to Daddy Issues. I'm Dean McDermott. I'm a daddy of 6. With me, as always, is Adam Hunter, a new daddy. He's actually got his little girl with him today.
It's me.
And it's not Nicky Paris. And as always, Nicky Paris, who still needs his daddy.
That's right. What's up?
How are you, boys?
Good. How are you?
Good. Violet, how are you, baby?
We have my god baby here today.
Yes.
So cute.
I gave her to Adam in the manger. Is that story of Christmas? I'm not sure. Something like that.
You gave something to Adam.
Yeah.
But we don't want to talk about that.
Look at Violet.
Do you think Violet's going to have a sense of humor? Think she's going to be funny?
She laughs at a lot of things. I mean, she laughs at like got your nose, and she laughs at little piggy. This little piggy went to the market. Like she actually does, and she thinks things are funny. Like we'll read a book, and then she'll just halfway through it start me over, and then laugh at me. So I do.
But how is she with observational humor? Do you ever throw that?
I don't know.
Some
Observational humor, I think, is her like forte right now. But I had a crazy week. I went to the Met game with my dad. Actually.
Okay, let's hear about
took me to the Dodger game. Met Dodgers. The last 2 games, I caught a ball. Right, like a playoff game, I caught a ball. One other, I dove in. Actually, one time there was a ball into the foul ball. I dove over like 3 things, and it was like 30 people trying to get it. I got it, put it in my pocket, and then left it, and they were still scrambling for it, like 10 people. And then I lifted it up, and everyone laughed. I was like the David Blaine of like, you know. So then
a lot of effort for an $8 ball. Well done.
it was a playoff ball, all right?
Okay,
So then I went. This time, me and my dad took me a Father's Day / birthday gift. Like, I buy your ticket, you buy mine, kind of a thing. So we go there, and we're at such good seats that they're just lobbing balls. Like, you know how like the players just lob people ball? So somebody went to lob me a ball, and this guy who looked like Zach Galifianakis on steroids pushed me out of the way and just ran for the ball. But there was like nobody was
Jacked Galifianakis.
Jack Galifianakis, and then he's like, "Yeah, let's go Mets," and screaming like a. And people were mad, like you stole it from that guy, and I'm like, but it wasn't like a ball was hit to us. He just was lobbing it. So I'm like, okay, all right. Now I'm pissed because I want that ball. I was gonna fight him, but it was like first inning. I'm not gonna get thrown out of the, all of a sudden
On Memorial Day.
Memorial Day. It was like a day game.
Memorial Day beatdown.
But like already, I'm like, why am I taking Muay Thai lessons if I can't use it?
Right.
Here was my chance, But I'm like, this is not the game. Hadn't even. It was like the first inning, right? So then, like a bunch of balls then got thrown. Like I'm like, all right, but every time I'm like, hey, give it to me. They threw it to like a little kid, and I wasn't gonna jump in front of a little kid, like a 4-year-old, to get a baseball.
I'm surprised you wouldn't, but okay.
I thought about it actually, but I was
growing.
like, I'm not gonna do it.
Jacked Galifianakis would have.
Yes. So then it got so upsetting that people felt bad for me that the ball went over my head. Those guys that like stole it from me caught it and then gave it to me. They're like, I was like that kid, like that who was like, like you give a kid who's like a handy. I was like that kid.
You were like a 3-legged dog.
Yeah, 3-legged dog, and everyone started clapping, and I didn't even want that ball. Like I wanted a reel to catch it. It was sad.
Was your Make-A-Wish to be on this podcast with us?
Yes, of course. I felt like it was my Make-A-Wish. I didn't want to be handed a baseball.
Were you wearing a helmet?
Yes.
Yeah,
I was. Yeah, no, but the kid who gave it to me was actually. I got a kid with a helmet gave me a baseball. So that was. And then this morning, I felt kind of guilty because I woke up at like 9 a.m. Wife went to work at 7:30, and she calls me up. She's like, the baby's been up for an hour crying in her poop, and I'm like, like I overslept, didn't get up.
How did she know though?
Because the monitor. We have it goes to an app.
It goes to an app.
On
Oh wow!
our phone. Not only that, but like her grandma, her mom can see it. Like her mom has called us before, and she was like, the baby's crying, and I'm like, oh. So I felt terrible. Like I felt like I let her cry for an hour in her own poop. Like I'm an awful.
Hey, it happens. It builds character.
It does build character.
Really?
And I think our guest can agree.
Yes.
I'm excited for our guest, and I'm so glad you got the baseball thing off your chest. It's something I feel like you really needed to get off your chest.
Very important.
So, do you feel better now?
I do.
All right. Well, then help me introduce our guest. The compassionate capitalist, the man who's being shunned by the major news networks. 2020 presidential candidate Ben Gleib.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the show.
Thank
Welcome
you.
to Daddy Issues.
Thank you for having me, you guys. I probably already shouldn't have been chiming in with Adam Hunter foul ball slams, but I had to. I had been there.
You had to.
Listen,
Adam's
you're only
been a
human.
friend for decades.
Now-
It was starting to get dark, and you made it light.
Now, Ben's a guy that I've known for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
I started booking the Westwood Brewing Company, and Ben came by, and back then he was dressing up as like an animal and going to UCLA
Dressing up in a gorilla costume.
and handing out flyers to
Handing
your
out
show.
flyers, yep.
And here's a guy that I saw
For a comedy show.
that
Okay.
he was running, and he's a guy that I saw him went from running the college comedy night where he had like 6 minutes of jokes, to getting his own Showtime special, to hosting Idiotest, to being one of the best comics around. And so when he says he's going to run for president, I actually believe him. I think he actually has a shot. I honestly do. I think you got a shot.
Thank you, man.
Well, you said something before we started that Bill Maher said that we need a comedian in the White House or to go against Donald Trump. Why is that? Why?
Well, to quote exactly Bill Maher, and it's the beginning of my announcement video, he says, we need someone who can shred Trump like a stand-up does a heckler, because Trump is a heckler, and to defeat him, we need a comedian. And that was my calculus. And when I heard Bill Maher say it, it just reconfirmed the thoughts I've been thinking for many months, thinking about whether I was going to do this thing or not, is that whether you're Republican or Democrat, I think Trump is something different. Trump, to me, is an anomaly who's just in it for himself only. And he's trying to erode our values and what America stands for just to enrich himself and his buddies. And he's not even loyal to our country. He stands next to Vladimir Putin and says he believes him over America. That's, regardless of party, completely against what our country is. That's treason he committed right in front of our very eyes, and we don't prosecute it because it's done publicly, and we think, oh, it's Trump being Trump. Right. But it's not what our country is. And he's such a rule breaker, and he's such an anomaly in the way he is as a politician. He does not play by any of the normal rules. So all of these cautious career politicians running on the Democratic side against him, I'm just unconvinced and uninspired. I don't believe that they are going to be able to shut him down. They might have ideas that can help the country and move us forward. I have those same ideas and my own different ones as well, and same progressive kinds of ideas. But I know how to beat a heckler. I've never been defeated by one in 19 years as a stand-up comedian.
Well, I watched you defeat a heckler last night. I forget what club it was at, but
in Rosemont, Illinois, the one where I got a death threat afterwards.
They get the death threat after that. And where was that?
In Rosemont, Illinois.
Rosemont, Illinois.
Outside of Chicago. And a Trump supporter came up to me after my show and said, you can't talk about the president like that. You'll get a bullet in the back of the head.
I cringed when I heard that. I absolutely cringed. I was just like, wow.
And when they said that to me, I was shocked and frightened, and I immediately said, if that's what has to happen, so be it, because I'm not going to let Trump weaponize his supporters to take away our free speech. This country's about freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of being able to speak truth to power, and it's a big part of what comedy's always stood for. My heroes, George Carlin and Bill Hicks and all the greats, are the ones who were not afraid to speak truth to power, and I'm going to do the same. So instead of cowering down and letting them win and shutting up like you told me to, I decided to go the other way and run for president of the United States.
Now, but some people are going to think this is a publicity stunt, that you're not taking this that seriously. You've done a lot of things in the past, like crashing people, like some political campaigns, asking funny questions.
I did not crash political campaigns. I was hired to do a pilot where I was a correspondent that Greg Giraldo hosted called CQC, and my job was to go. We got official press access to these events, and I just asked out-of-the-box questions. That's what I do as a candidate, too. Right. I ask crazy questions to Hillary and Obama and McCain, and my whole thing is I want to bring an outside voice into this race. I want to bring a regular dude's voice, and who's more of a regular person than a road-traveling comic who for 19 years has been going to every comedy club, big and small, eating, getting excited when you get free chicken wings, getting drunk with the locals after the show and hanging out. That's the life that I am. So if you
sounds
wonder,
like a good president.
Yeah. So if you wonder
so
why,
you could have a beer with.
100%. People always say I want a president that I can see myself having a beer with. I've already had beers with hundreds of you.
All right. So
sometimes fireball shots.
Okay. Now, now who's your first lady?
Well, let me say on this. So if you keep wondering why the country gets harder and harder to succeed for regular people, for people who aren't the wealthy elite, multi-millionaires and billionaires, or career politicians that are entrenched in this broken system, why you keep reelecting them, why are you surprised that the laws don't change to benefit regular people? How about having a regular dude in there who knows what it's like to struggle to pay his bills, knows what it's like to have medical issues and not know how to pay for that like I recently had? All of that.
What happened?
I had a tumor that I had to have removed about 2 years ago.
Was it your friend Scott?
Hilarious.
All right, go on. Go on.
And I had to pay out of pocket and change my insurance and do all these things and struggle with our healthcare system, and it's very flawed and we need to fix it. So maybe if you finally get somebody in there who not only is a regular dude who can actually care about your concerns because he has the same concerns himself, but then also a comic, so like a funny version of a regular dude who can go in there and talk trash to Trump and take down the guy who says he has the best words. He has the best words and the best people around him, 19 of which are already in jail 2 years into his administration. I'll call him out on that shit in a much more aggressive and interesting and more funny way than all the other candidates do, and I will diffuse him. Trump's afraid of comedians. He hasn't gone the last 2 years to the White House Correspondents' Dinner because he's afraid to face a comedian for 15 minutes. Right. Imagine if for a year of a campaign he had to deal with one of the best heckler shredding comedians that I am and that I can do. This guy will be able to be taken down so much more aggressively in that way by what I can bring to the table, that I hope people support the idea of an outside voice in this race and give just $1 or whatever they can afford at Gleib2020.com. And whatever you can afford, we can fuel this campaign and move towards our goal of becoming the nominee and taking down Trump. And at the very least, be able to be the person that can help show the other candidates. If people choose they want still a cautious old politician, fine, that's your choice. I think I'd be a better choice. But if not, I can at least show the other candidates how to take on Trump better. I can weaken Trump. I can poke holes in him, and it'd be a lot of fun to watch.
But is Bernie Sanders a cautious old politician?
He's definitely old.
Oh, he's old.
He's my great-great-grandfather.
I wouldn't say he's cautious, though.
He's not the most cautious. He's one of the more outspoken people for sure, but he's been in Congress for like 30 or 40 years.
But some people will say that's what got Trump elected, that they want an everyday guy.
Exactly, except he was a con man. He pretended he was an everyday guy. How is a multi-billionaire who's been conning people for his whole life and hosted The Apprentice, known for firing people, an everyday guy? He's not. He pretends he is.
But what experience do you have in politics?
A lot. So aside from just being a very passionate citizen, for the last 12 years or so, I've been a guest correspondent on CNN, ABC News, co-anchor of ABC News Digital, Fox News. I've gone on and debated Tomi Lahren, who's the firebrand of the conservative right, and debated
hot.
The whole election with her. She ain't bad to look at. I don't disagree.
Go on.
She's a friend of mine. I'll grant her that.
Right.
I give her points when I give points when need be, and I covered the Republican and Democratic conventions for NPR. I covered election night for ABC News. My podcast for 8 years has been about politics, trying to get, it's not the coolest podcast I could have created, but I really care so much. I want to try to get people to care about politics who'd never cared about it before. And so I try to make it down and dirty and gritty and relatable so that everyday people actually get engaged in the news and then actually care to make change. That's what I've dedicated my life to and my professional life to. And on top of all that, I host a monthly show called We the People, where I bring two from the left and two from the right together, and I moderate it, trying to find solutions to our problems. Where do you see hands-on action like that from people in Congress who are just partisan on one side, trying to fight the other side constantly, and afraid to come out of their party lines?
Where can we see this show, by the way?
It's every month at the Hollywood Improv.
Okay.
We do it in the lab. We did it at Politicon last year as well. There's the whole one from Politicon is on YouTube. You can just search Politicon, We the People, Gleib, and it'll come up. And then in November of last year, I did my biggest thing to help the country. I created the Telethon for America, which was the night before the midterm elections. I created a first-of-its-kind event that was completely nonpartisan. We did not advocate for one side or the other. We just encouraged people to vote the next day in the midterms, and I created it from scratch, from an idea in my head.
It did seem like you had mostly people to the left.
That's just because we couldn't get people on the right to come on. We got Dr. Phil, was the only one we could get on their side, and we begged people to come on, and they wouldn't come on. But that's just who tends to be activists are the liberals. But I got all of them who usually spout off about every liberal issue to not say a word about politics the whole show and just say about voting in a creative out-of-the-box show. That we had Charlize Theron and Natalie Portman and Amy Schumer and Ray Romano and Julia Louis-Dreyfus and all Pete Davidson and all these amazing people come in, and Jane Fonda.
Was Moby with Natalie Portman or no?
Did not invite Moby to come on the show.
Okay, go on.
And he has apologized for that. Okay. And we did it to help create historic voter turnout. And we partnered with Michelle Obama's When We All Vote organization, and we played some small part in what actually ended up the next day being the most historic voter turnout ever among young people in our country and the best overall turnout since 1914. So as a private citizen, if I've already been able to do that and help our country come together, imagine what I could do if I was in a position of power.
And did you feel as passionate about this before Trump was president? Or is this something that, like, you're seeing how bad things are going that now you feel like you have to speak up?
I've been incredibly passionate ever since the first George Bush was elected, and I became very interested in politics and started doing all the things I just mentioned. Only after Trump was elected did I think two things. This is an existential threat now to everything we hold dear. I mean, beyond our values being eroded and him empowering racists to come out of the woodwork again, he also is even making us question what truth is. He calls fake news to facts and then lies and says that's what facts are, we don't have a concept of truth. You have chaos in society. So when Trump started doing what he was doing, I realized two things. I realized that we had to stop him, and if there's any way anybody can help, you should volunteer at the highest level you can. And B, I realized maybe it's true. Anybody can be president, and so maybe I should consider throwing my hat in the ring at the highest level.
Now, the economy is doing pretty well, though, right now.
The unemployment rate's doing pretty well.
The unemployment, but also the economy.
Stock market's doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Economy's doing okay.
So why would I... Okay, I'm a business guy.
You don't want to talk on that microphone at all, do you? Just like being super far from it.
No, I'm a business guy.
Left,
so
right.
I'm a business guy, and my stock's doing well, and my money's doing okay. Why would I trust that you know what you're doing?
Well, very easily. Why would you trust that Trump knows what he's doing? You
But
declared
I'm not talking
bankruptcy
about
4
Trump. How
times. Sure. So to be president, the major job is to be the thought leader and to be the person who can bring the best ideas together and listen to the best advisors and the most brilliant people in the world and come to the best decisions. My only litmus test would be what helps the most people, what policies are the best for the most number of Americans, and that's what I will do. And so you have to just have a great brain on your head. You know, Trump hosted The Apprentice about firing people. My show, Idiotest, is about using your brain better and use your common sense better to not be an idiot. I have a very sharp sense of common sense. I have a very sharp sense of what average people need. And so my question to you is, what do you have to lose? What's the risk in trying somebody who is very smart? I went to a great school like many of the other candidates. I was part of the honors thesis program at that school. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm talking. UC San Diego was ranked as high as 15th in the nation and currently maybe 40th, but still top 50 out of 2,500 schools. We need to stop being so elitist and only count Harvard. We keep running people from Harvard in office. None of us have even been to Harvard. They can't relate. You been there?
Well, as visiting the wrestling team.
Is it nice?
It's beautiful.
Cool vibe?
All right, go on.
I really regret ordering a very hot coffee in this little cavernous room.
All right, so
I'm sweating like
all
Nixon
right,
in the
so-
Nixon-Kennedy
all right.
debates. And so to finish answering your question is you don't the president's not directly responsible for the day-to-day of the economy. He's responsible for shifting our policies in ways that can help. I would reduce taxes on the tax burden on everyday people. I would give a cost of living tax refund to middle income and low income earners so that they can actually start closing the wealth and income divide in this country and start competing with the super wealthy that keep getting more and more of the pie and not sharing any of it and hogging that shit like Daddy Warbucks and jumping in their McScrooge rooms full of coins. You just need somebody who actually is going to shift policy towards people, and that's what a regular person like me could do in office, that all of these career politicians go and say they're going to do it, and they get in office, and they're like, well, but my buddies are these companies and these super big corporations, and I'm not going to be as hard on them as I say I will be. So that's the kind of thing that I think I could do.
And you were just on Fox, and you said that you're a compassionate capitalist.
Correct.
And the anchor was a little taken back by that. Why do you think that is?
Well, there was just some misunderstanding, and
He thought he was a compassionate socialist.
I was a compassionate socialist, Stuart Varney on Varney and Company, and their whole week's theme was capitalism versus socialism. And they had a big, intense graphic for it, like Fox News loves to do, and a lot of the news networks do. And he wanted to just battle and make fun of a socialist. I'm not a socialist, but what I am is somebody who realizes the reality of our country, which is we are both capitalist and socialist.
Agreed.
And it's a complete lie to pretend that we're one or the other, and we need to stop wasting all of our time by demonizing socialists or demonizing straight-up capitalists. We are both. Trump's a socialist. Trump believes in trying to regulate drug prices. That's not free market. He believes in putting tariffs on China. That's affecting free market prices. He then gives subsidies to farmers who his own policy of tariffs affects. And subsidies is a straight-up socialist concept, trying to literally even out the amount of money people get, not based on the sheer capitalist system. So we are both of those things. It's just a complete BS waste of time to act as though we're one or the other. And that's what also these politicians in power seem unable time and time again to end these futile, repetitive, inaccurate debates. Someone from the outside can come in and say, you're full of shit. You're talking about a false narrative. It's not about party lines. It's not about left versus right. It's not about liberal versus conservative. They keep trying to divide us left versus right. Even red versus blue. They color code us. That's the exact colors of Bloods and Crips. You think that's maybe part of why we're so at each other's throats? When the real divide is the top 1% of the planet against everybody else.
Yeah, but don't you think you're also demonizing the 1%?
Why don't you just dive under the table?
Aren't
and
you
not even be on
demonizing the
mic at all?
1% by doing that? Aren't you demonizing the 1%?
I'm not demonizing them. I'm saying, yeah. I mean, I'm not demonizing them. I'm saying that they are very greedy and very selfish. And it's not even the 1%. It's the top 1/10 of 1% that keep trying to skew the rules. They already have billions of dollars, and they're instead saying, I want more billions at the cost of everyday people. So I'm not demonizing them. I'm saying stop being so greedy. It's the pharmaceutical companies. It's the companies that are trying to, companies like that make the AIDS prevention drug Truvada that costs $60 in other countries, and they're charging like $25,000 a year for it.
But like,
and then Republicans in Congress are defending that.
But Bill Gates is the 1% of the 1%. Are you putting him in that category?
No, because he's the one that's agreed to give half of his wealth to causes that
I know,
need
but it
it
seems
in
like
the
you're
world.
generalizing by saying the 1%. I mean, versus.
What do you want me to list everybody's names?
I would say the
How long is your podcast?
I would say the pharmaceutical companies.
3 days.
Like point them out, because I agree with you, the pharmaceutical companies. But then there's plenty of rich people that are like not doing what you're saying people are doing.
I'm just saying as a generality, because you have to speak in generalities, the richest people keep skewing the laws just for themselves. Not every rich person, of course. There's tons of wonderful rich people that also have a heart and care about people. Good correction.
Right.
Accepting those people, with the exception of those people, of course. I'm just saying as a general rule, the powers that be, the oil companies, the pharmaceutical companies, the super wealthy who are trying to avoid paying taxes, even their own fair share of it, when the rest of us are struggling to even make ends meet or put food on the table, that's the things we have to change. And I do not mind taxing the ultra wealthy. I know your daughter disagrees.
Yeah.
But I don't mind taxing the ultra wealthy at a higher rate, just even though they will still be able to be very prosperous and have multiple homes and boats, just maybe not 6 boats and 85 homes. And you can help pay for things that are important across the country. How is it in this nation, we don't even take care of our VA? We don't even fully fund our Veterans Administration, and we have the simple promise we make to all of our soldiers when they sign up is we will take care of you when you return from war. And they have to wait months and months to see people. They end up committing suicide because they don't have proper care, proper mental health treatment, and we don't even fully fund that when we have the biggest military budget on planet Earth. We can't give a bigger chunk of that to the people who come back. We're not the best nation if we can't follow through on those promises. So we have to change those priorities, and it's the richest people that are stopping that from happening. So that's just a reality. Oops.
Now, Ben,
I dropped my water bottle there.
Do me a favor. Someone who's not very well versed in politics, and I'm Canadian, so I have no dog in this race.
Sure.
I have a prime minister who changes the lyrics to our national anthem. Walk me through what Ben Gleib can do. Walk me through your plan of attack. What can you do? What do you think needs to be changed, and what do you think you can do?
Sure. So I think, first of all, I can help stop Trump. I think I have unique skills to make sure that he is humiliated publicly, that he loses. I will shame him. I will make fun of him. I will embarrass him so he goes to an epic defeat in the election come November 2020. So that's the most important and most urgent thing. Then I will implement policies to help take our democracy back, because I am not part of the career politicians that have been in there for so long they don't even actually know how or want to truly in their heart change the systemic problems that have been taking people's voice away. I would help do that. We need to take our democracy back. So how you take your democracy back? You outlaw partisan gerrymandering, where you're literally carving districts around black people and different minorities so they have less of a voice in our elections. You make sure you put your foot down with no exception in a very aggressive way against foreign interference in our elections, not cozying up to Putin and saying, I didn't ask him about that. You put a hard line in the sand. You pass a constitutional amendment to get rid of the Electoral College and make sure it's just one person for each vote, and all of our votes and voices count the exact same.
I love that idea.
That's something very key, because we live in modern times. There's no hard process to reach people's messages anymore, so it should just be one voice. And I believe you were about 8 miles away when you said you love that idea.
I love that idea.
Awesome.
All right, now as far as this is Daddy Issues, the podcast,
Yeah.
and normally we all talk about our daddy issues or being dads.
And our penises.
Yeah,
let's
stuff
be
like
honest.
that. So
I'll also pass a constitutional amendment to protect a woman's right to choose, and that should be a daddy issue too. Do you want to be a daddy when you're not ready to be a daddy?
Hell no.
No, but and I totally agree with you, right? But on the other people saying that, when do you the people that are pro-life are saying that the birth begins a person begins at conception, and that's a human being in the womb that you're killing.
Right.
What's your philosophy? What's your take on that?
Sure. So I believe in a constitutional amendment that would protect a woman's right to choose because regardless of what your opinion is on abortion religiously or from your own moral background, and I think we all agree we should have as few abortions as possible. It's not a pleasant experience. It's not a good thing to do whenever we can avoid it. But your own religious or moral background is not the law. The law of our land in 1973 when Roe versus Wade was decided by the court is that a woman has the right to decide her own fate of her own body. And I don't think white men in state legislatures should be deciding for women's bodies, let alone super unattractive dudes usually who have probably never gotten laid and don't even know what women's bodies look like. Mitch McConnell's trying to pass, the dude looks like a turtle. He's trying to pass. I'm not trying to legislate Mitch McConnell's quiet, lonely Fridays. I'm not going to say Mitch McConnell can't have tea with lemon on Friday nights. So it's ridiculous. When we start legislating that women can decide when men get vasectomies or not, that's when we can discuss telling women about their own abortions. So I respect if somebody's religious views are that life begins at conception, so they should make sure that their church goers, their congregation, does not get abortions. Make sure they get them all on board. But to pass it for the nation, to make any law for a woman, it just doesn't make sense because women are still going to do what they're going to do. They're just going to get.
It's by the state, though. It's not by the nation.
No, it is. It's a national law that these state houses are violating and passing laws against, and they're all going to be appealed. And a lot of these cases are going to go up to the Supreme Court. They're actually doing a lot of this to set up for a battle to overturn Roe versus Wade. And so the states can do it for now, but they can be sued and it can be injuncted and stopped until it passes. But I personally don't think if something has a brain yet, if you don't have a developed brain, you have no sense you're a being.
A lot of people without brains. I mean, you can't just go out. Go on.
Fair point. Fair point. People without brains, even as adults, should be aborted.
Yeah.
But I just think if you don't have a brain yet, you're not a human. I think if you're the size of a grain of sand, or at the first few weeks, or the size of a grain of rice at 6 weeks, you are not a human being.
What about late term? What about 8 months?
Ridiculous. It's horrible. That is killing a baby. When a baby, in my opinion,
late-term abortions is
So then what's the cutoff line?
when a baby can survive outside of the womb, for me, is what the cutoff is. And that's when you should, at that point, have your decision made and your mind made and be able to deal with the consequences of your decisions.
And you can argue this all day long of
Sure.
when you consider a child a human being. But it really is, and you hit it on the head, it's almost two different arguments. It's like you're legislating what women can and cannot do with their bodies,
Right.
and you have this argument of when you think, a fetus is considered a life,
Right.
and I just don't think never the twain shall meet. I just
Right.
think we have to have our basic human rights, and like you said, it's got nothing to do with your religious beliefs, and it's funny that the right and these extremists who are pro-lifers, they take on this attitude that, we're just going to go out. Was it Friday night? Yeah, let's go get abortions. Like, they're just...
No one's flippant about it.
We're running around using it as a method of birth control, and it's just not the case. I mean,
It's a very intense procedure.
there's rape, there's incest, and people...
But most of the
economic...
abortions are not rape and incest.
You're not on this
and
microphone in the
economic-
least bit.
All right, well,
And no, but let me finish that. It's also socioeconomic as well. It's like sometimes, things happen. You make mistakes. We all make mistakes in our
Sure.
lives. And if you're not, a child has a big responsibility fiscally. And, if you're not ready for it, what kind of life is that kid going to have?
Right. And women are going to still do what they're going to do. They're just going to turn back to back alley abortions, unsafe abortions. You're just now, actually, if you're pro-life, you're risking the life of adult women.
Yes.
Why is an adult woman's life less valuable than a developing fetus the size of a grain of rice or a grain of sand? That just doesn't make any logical sense. So you're going to just make it more unsafe for people to do what they're going to do anyway. It's in their body. They could tumble downstairs to get rid of that body and then also risk killing themselves. It's in your own body. So it's not a life. If it's in another life and needs to be dependent fully on that other life to be growing and for all of its ability to develop. It's stages of development to become a human being. That's why your birthday starts when you're born. But also, a lot of these Republicans in the state houses and in power and in government in general, they claim to be pro-life, But it's just like we just said. They value a developing embryo over a human woman. They don't provide paid maternity leave or paternity leave for the fathers that stay home instead of mothers who have to go back to work. They don't care about the development of that child as soon as they're born. George Carlin said it best, is that they care about you till you're born, and then fuck you until you're 18 when you can go fight in war. And in between, they don't give a shit. They don't care about prenatal care. They don't care about funding, education. Our education system is so lacking and falling behind in this country. We don't prepare students for the real future. We need major changes in our education system. We don't do any of the major things that, if you really cared about these lives, don't try to gut welfare programs. Don't try to stop children from having the best life they can. Don't try and take health care away from millions of people, including millions of children. Those are the kind of things that, if you actually are not just trying to make a political point, you would also be consistently caring about. And you also wouldn't be trying to defund Planned Parenthood, because if you're against Planned Parenthood, it means you're for unplanned parenthood, which is exactly what they're saying people should not be doing and should not be creating. So it's just so many moral inconsistencies that just keep legislation out of a woman's body. No one's telling dudes we got to do stuff with our private
Do you think
parts.
Planned Parenthood should have like a credit card? You get points for every time you use it.
There should be, yeah. I think
okay.
it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea. Bonus points, and you can shop for stuff on the Sky Mall.
Like every 9 abortions, you get your 10th. All right.
It's like
a
exact-
Subway punch card.
Yeah.
You get free potato skins on the 10th abortion.
You don't think it's a...
Seems aggressive.
I
to
know.
even
I
have-
know. I'm going to get flack for what I said about abortion, and when I have a 2-year-old, I've got 6 kids, and when we got pregnant with Bo, it's like it's decision time. I was 50, and I was just like and financially we weren't in a good
You got
spot.
a vasectomy? Is that what you're about to tell us?
No. But I'm going to perform it myself in one of our shows. Yeah, I just
'cause
need
his next
Our
wife-
first live stream.
I just need a nail and a half an onion.
His next
and
guy wife
my
don't want to have
God.
kids.
Half an onion.
All right, go on.
What, to bite into?
Yeah, it's part of the healing process. It's
Okay.
just, yes.
Congrats.
But
Yeah, you have to-
It really was. It was decision time, and both Tori and I, we talked about it, and it was like, okay, well, let's go for our ultrasound, because we didn't find out actually till it was later in the pregnancy, because it was kind of a surprise, and I think out of fear we both waited to go and get the ultrasound, because she did the pea stick thing and it was positive, and it was just like, oh shit, we're older, we already have 4 kids, I've got a 5th, and it was like, okay, where are we career wise, financially wise, family wise? We've already got 5 kids, so it was like, okay, we were scared to find out, so we put it off for a couple weeks, and we went in, I think it was maybe in the 13th week, 14th week. And once we saw the heartbeat, then decision was made. It was like, yeah, we can't do it. But that time between finding out she's pregnant, thinking she was pregnant, finding out she was pregnant from the pea stick, and then finding out from the ultrasound that it was a viable pregnancy, I mean, it was torturous. It was a hard, you go back and forth and back and forth. It's not, like you said, it's not a flippant decision. It's not made easily.
Right. No one's taking it easily, but just to make it the law that you can't get one.
Oh, ridiculous.
Even in the case if you're raped, or in the case of incest, you're going to make someone carry their rapist baby to term. That's insanity.
Ridiculous. I mean, if you're raped by your brother, you should at least get it. If you comply. Okay, but
This is why Adam Hunter is not in my cabinet.
I'm just kidding. I'm just joking.
I would love to find out. Maybe you know this, Ben. If there's a statistic out there of women who intended on getting an abortion, but once they saw the ultrasound and the heartbeat, they didn't.
I don't know
I'd
the
love
answer,
to
but
know
it's
if
definitely some.
There's a stat.
It's definitely a
And
number.
I would love to know that stat, and nobody's throwing it around, so I'm assuming it's pretty high.
I'm not sure, but I saw Juno, so I know it does happen.
Now, what are you going to do? Elizabeth Warren said she wants to make daycare. She wants to provide state-funded daycare, basically, which I think is a great idea, because for so many parents, they have to work 2 jobs. They can't afford a nanny. Nannies are like $20 an hour. Then you go to a daycare, and it's like even that $300, $400, $500 a week. It really like.
It's costly. Believe me, it's a major expense.
And these are like the prime years for when brains are being developed.
Right.
So how would you help with that?
Here's my plan for that, is that I would have free state-provided daycare, But to save further costs, I would have it run by other babies. So they really relate to their peers. They learn social skills.
Got it. Yes.
And
You haven't thought about this, have you?
No, I have not thought about that issue. I didn't
Come
even know
on,
that was
man. This is daddy issues.
We're only 3 weeks into the campaign.
Right, but
All
what
right.
about
Well-
I think wasn't it Michael Moore who suggested or did a study that large corporations that have daycare in the building that people work at, their productivity was greater.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that. And no, I was obviously kidding there, but it's a great idea. You need to look at the costs, but that seems like a very smart thing. Anything that increases productivity in office ends up helping our economy and is very worthwhile. If families are stressed and have to work less well, have to constantly check your baby monitor or make sure your person's there, you're going to be affecting your productivity. You're not going to be able to work as hard. The economy suffers. We need to do, that's the kind of things, by the way, that would be called socialist. That would be called socialist, paying for daycare. No, it's just taking care of your citizens with a common sense idea that could help them focus more on your capitalist system, on producing more money for the economy. So we need to stop this garbage about pitting ourselves against each other and just take ideas, figure out how to pay for it, and then do all of the good ideas we can.
If this socialist idea worked and you were more profitable, would it not be a capitalist
Exactly
idea?
right.
Like
All of it's both. It's just capitalism. Socialist ideas in our system just serves as a safety net so that people are willing to take bigger risks. People might start more businesses in our capitalist economy if they know that if the business fails, there's some net that's going to make them not destitute and homeless. It just helps people's risk aversion.
What
that's
about
all.
college athletes? Are they going to be paid or what?
That's a good one. I don't have an opinion on college athletes
man.
being paid or not. You think they should be paid?
Of course they should be paid. I mean, they're bringing in so much money. I mean, why should the other people be paid on these especially college athletes that are not?
Yeah, and a
going
lot of them
to-
get hurt and then they can't even make it to the bigs and then
Yeah.
they never got to benefit from their talent. I'm not against them getting paid. I think maybe like some kind of a profit share between the university and the player would make sense.
And gambling in other states, legalized sports gambling.
I'm fine with sports gambling. Victimless crimes I'm fine with in general. We should legalize weed. We should legalize MDMA for treating PTSD, for veterans and for others who suffer from traumatic disorder. We should not
for ravers.
criminalize victimless crimes. We shouldn't have that a priority. What?
What about like a rave? If you want to go to a rave, MDMA sometimes it was like a really good time in my 20s.
Like if
I
you're at a Diplo concert, that's
Yeah,
really
that's-
weird.
I've had really good times in my 20s too, so I don't know about a national policy, but I don't think it needs to be our top enforcement priority.
Now, do you have a girlfriend?
I do.
Who's this?
She's amazing. Her name is Carmel. She just moved into my house yesterday.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a big step.
Yeah.
You're making a lot of big
I
steps in
know.
your life.
I got a dog, a rescue dog, so I'm an American hero, and and I asked my girlfriend to move in with me on the day that we filed with the Federal Election Commission to run, because the day that I decided I was going to try to help the country in every way I can, I wanted to also make my life better by bringing this amazing woman.
Good, because the last one
into my life.
that came to my wedding, I wasn't crazy about. We had a dance contest, and she was like giving lap dances to everybody.
She was
and
not giving lap dances. She was a professional dancer, and she showed everybody up.
She
and
did, but it was very sexy dancing.
Very
But
sexy person.
there's a lot of professional dancers out of the Seventh Veil.
Me,
Out of what?
The Seventh Veil.
Out of the Seventh Veil? Yeah.
Me and Ben one time did a comedy tour, and we were like, we did all these casinos and like Bumblefuck, where it was, and
I think
then
it was Bumblefuck.
and then we get there, and then they wouldn't let Ben perform because he wasn't wearing a tie.
Yeah.
And then
We had to go back to the room through like a 8-mile long casino. Came back out with our best clothes we had. We're like, this is the best we got. And we think we're walking into some huge arena, some beautiful thing. It was a makeshift stage in the casino floor, in the slot machine pit.
Yeah.
Loudest
honor.
noise in the world. It was all elderly people, many of them on wheelchairs with IV bags, with
Yes.
oxygen bags.
I was getting heckled by those slot machines.
He was
you
getting
know?
heckled by God. It was pretty insane.
By the Sex and the City
And
slot
then
machine.
Ben ran out of jokes, and then he started singing old Neil Young covers.
I just started doing all my old impressions. I was doing like Neil Diamond. I was doing like
Neil
Frank
Diamond.
Sinatra. I was singing like I was doing Jimmy Stewart impressions. I was doing any old person thing I could
That was
think
the
of.
best.
And then on the way back from the gig, Adam's car broke down, and we pull on the side of the road. And Adam's instant. I've never seen such a strategy come out so quickly. Maybe you could be considered for the cabinet for this reason.
Yes.
The car broke down. Adam's move was within 1 second, take off his shirt and try to flag down cars.
It worked. worked.
He was immediately shirtless
Back then
trying to flag
I
down
was
cars.
like ripped back then. So
He was ripped.
It worked.
I was not. I kept my shirt on.
The person
that
pulled
also
over.
worked.
They recognized you as the
They
shot
pulled over
guy.
and actually
He used
gave
to be a
us-
shot guy.
I think gave us flat tires. It was like this last ride. It got even worse. We're out of gas, 10 tires.
But I mean, Hunter's been such a big part of my career because you invited me to. You actually invited me to co-headline with you. You closed, but you called it co-headlining because I think you believed in my talent or something, and you wanted
Of
me
course,
to like.
you're hilarious, man.
Thank you, man. And so he gave me some of my first headlining gigs ever, and then also gave me an open invite to perform for years at Westwood Brewing Company, which made my stand-up career. I would not be where I am if it weren't for that room.
You're hilarious.
Suppose it's
man.
because he wanted to be your Monica.
My Monica
Lewinsky?
Oh, listen,
That's,
I am open
He
to
had a
it.
vision.
I'm open to it. How do you look in a wig?
Great. Can we talk about the sugar daddies thing or no? 'Cause
Sugar
we
daddies?
We could take this out. By the way, it's
What's the sugar daddy?
What's the
thing?
sugar daddy?
when the girl that you're like date was on that website and you were like the sugar.
No!
Daddy. Oh,
All right, we got to remember to cut that.
yeah, cut that. All right. And then
Whenever Adam says
and then cut
we
my
can
rape
cut
joke.
this, we should just stop
Also,
it.
Yeah, stop recording at that time.
We should
Also,
just
cut my you get raped by your brother joke too.
When was that?
It was like I don't know. It was
10 minutes
it was
ago?
about 10 minutes ago.
So how long
29
have you
in?
been doing stand-up, Ben?
19 years I've been doing
19
stand-up.
years. 19 years.
Yeah.
And now again, so when you were younger, was stand-up in your
Yeah.
in your sights? Was being
Always.
president of the United States
Never.
in your sights?
No, I had in the back of my head somewhere that maybe one day I'd run for a political office. Never thought I'd run for president out of the gate. My thought was that I always wanted to be a stand-up comedian and TV host. Ended up being a late-night talk show host eventually. Didn't think I'd be a game show host. That's been an interesting detour and turn in my career with Idiotest, which is on Netflix. You can
I
watch
enjoyed
it if you want.
Idiotest. I
Thank you.
watched a bit of it last night.
Thank you.
Doing my research.
I love that. And that's all that I wanted to do. I still want to host a late night talk show one day. I think I will. It'll definitely be easier to get it after I've been president of the United States of America.
You think it'll be political, obviously?
No, I don't think so. I don't plan to be political forever. That's, again, why, we need an outside voice. I want to come help our current problems. I want to serve 2 terms, and then in 8 years...
You want to do 2 terms. So, okay,
2
8
terms.
years, we'll rehash The Apprentice with Ben Gleib.
Exactly. And then by the time the campaign and 2 terms are done, I'll be just under 50 years old.
Now,
And
did you think back
go
when
on
you
a
were
massive
on
stand-up
a
tour.
blind date that one day you'd be president? He is the
I
funniest
crashed Blind Date.
episode I've ever seen in my
No,
life.
really?
Oh, it's the greatest thing ever.
Okay, I'll
I
be Googling
crashed
that.
Blind Date back in the day. I kind of pulled one over on them and pretended I was my Israeli character that I do. I used my name because you had to. They check your ID. But I went in and auditioned like this, and the whole time I was a pimp daddy who wants to, play a kind of a player situation and looking for some fun, with some girls. And they matched me perfectly with this, just came back from a convent in India, total sour-faced, not fun person, and I'm hitting on her constantly in this character.
And he has his shirt open with his hairy chest. It was
Yeah,
hilarious.
it's not that hairy, but thank you for saying that. And the whole time for the audition
Trying to get up your
process-
Armenian voters.
Yes. 8 hours of
Hair is good.
of the shoot. I had to stay in character. They would call my house weeks after following up, and I'd be like, hello? They're like, we're calling from Blind Date. I'm like, hello. It's
bro.
And it was a really fun episode.
Now, what are your thoughts on the fact that Facebook is now deplatforming people and Google and everything else, as far as people like Alex Jones or Milo Yiannopoulos or these
Explain
other-
what that means. I don't know. Deplatforming
So basically,
someone.
there's
Banning them.
there are these people that have they're conspiracy theorists or they're entertainers or they're super kind of to the right or even to the left of politics, and Facebook just pulled them, and I think YouTube pulled them monetize. They can't monetize on YouTube, and they can't. Even Twitter's pulled a lot of these people. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, I think I err on the side of free speech. I think it's important to protect free speech wherever we can, but I am not in favor of insightful speech or hateful speech. And when people like Alex Jones are saying that the Sandy Hook massacre at an elementary school was with actors and crisis actors, and it was not true, not a real shooting, and you have people giving death threats to the parents of people who lost their kids in a school shooting, that's next level, and you should get banned. You're just being an irresponsible person. It's akin at that point to shouting fire in a theater. You're just being a completely irresponsible fire starter, and if you're going to espouse I don't think hate speech should be tolerated. And so if
What
you're
exactly? What do you consider hate speech? Because that's also a very vague term.
Yeah, it's a vague term, but I think anybody who speaks hatefully about a group of people simply based on their ethnic background, their religious background, their sexual orientation, something that's not a chosen position of theirs, but you're just saying you hate and despise and or call for any sort of violence toward a group of people, that is hate speech and it should be banned.
But as a comic, right? So if I say like, oh, I was worried my daughter was 3 weeks late, I was concerned the father would be black, right? So like that's a joke I do.
Yeah.
Because black people are sometimes late, yada, yada, yada. Is that hate speech?
I mean, I would ban you from all platforms very quickly.
Anyway.
Like,
For
is
sure.
is that considered hate speech if it's a joke?
No, it's not. No, because it's clear your intent is kind and funny and silly, and you're being joking. If you then went on a Michael Richards rant from that point, that's where it crosses the line. People know people's intent. You don't piss off black people when you tell those jokes.
Sometimes, no, I don't, of course.
Right.
But sometimes somebody could say something sarcastically or
you have
as a joke, and then it could be taken way the wrong way.
People should not be banned for one thing they say, for one thing.
Should be a
taken out of
combination.
context. If there's a pattern of somebody speaking insightful language to try to harm people or encourage harm against people, that's when it crosses the line. It's not if it's light. Look, I'm a comic. I've said horrible things too, but they're light, funny, and meant to entertain. So
It's about the intent.
it's about the intent and about someone's heart, and you can tell that. If someone's just constantly trying to...
I don't know if you can tell that, though. Like that's
The two people you cited, I think, are pretty good examples of people that have seemingly pretty insightful intent and are trying to use their platforms to make a dollar in any way possible, even if that way is harming people. If you're okay with your language harming people and doing it over and over again, I think you can tell that.
so like a guy like Ben Shapiro. Like, do you think he should be banned?
No, he's a smart guy. I don't agree with a lot of his opinions, but he's a smart guy that debates things on a issue-by-issue basis and tries to not speak irresponsibly.
Right.
Now, I want to ask you, Trump has been rolling back so many rights for trans and LGBT people. I saw this week that homeless shelters have a right to refuse you if you're trans. Really? So what do you say that you would bring to the table for trans and LGBT people in a time where they really are afraid?
Well, several things. People are people, and I'm so sick of the fact that even just last week, our Congress, the House, which is Democrat-controlled, passed sweeping civil rights legislation for LGBT people, and only 8 Republicans voted for it, and 173 voted against it. And it's expected to be also shut down by the Republican-controlled Senate, and if it ever got to Trump's desk, it's expected that he would veto it. Human rights. So it's human beings, and that's why I think it's actually so important to have a straight white male speaking on behalf of women's rights, reproductive rights, and on behalf of LGBT rights, because of course LGBT people support LGBT rights, and of course women support women's rights, but we need straight white males to start standing up much more aggressively for the things that we all need, because if it's morality, it's not morality if it only something you do when it applies to you. It's morality if you stand up for it even when it doesn't directly affect you.
Just a general blanket.
Just a general blanket of humanity. And so what I would do is end all discrimination of all kinds permanently. No more. You don't tolerate it. You don't tolerate people ever discriminating against somebody else. My campaign stands for equality, and that's why my logo, when most campaign logos mean nothing and it's just some stripes on their name, I have a G for Gleib, and the top of it is a blue and red equal sign on the very top, because our campaign stands for equality. Our campaign stands for equal rights, equal protection under the law, equal pay. Equality is what we must have as our only standard, and it's barbaric and backwards that anyone still does not agree with that. So I would fight tooth and nail for the rights of my gay friends and my LGBTQ friends and make sure that they know they have an ally in me, hands down. One of my best friends is a gay dude. I'm very close with a drag queen named Laganja, who's a great person.
I know Laganja.
You know Laganja?
Mm-hmm.
We did a short film together recently. You have to support humans. And and that's another thing that I think the framing from a comedian can come in so much more of a stark way. LGBTQ people are people. It's right there in the name, LGBTQ people. Stop persecuting people for who they are. It's insane. Plus, I also sometimes wear eyeliner and fur coats, and I'm a lot more LGBTQ friendly than your average politician, that's for sure.
You're a fashionista. Don't apologize.
Thank
for
you.
As far as
that.
the immigration,
it's kind of a trendsetter.
as far as the
Yeah, I
immigration
got that.
problem, right? Which is obviously like the border. You're against the border wall.
I'm against the border wall.
Against the wall.
Mostly because it's just a horrible waste of money, because a lot of people come in through tunnels, which, fun fact, go under walls, And even Trump admitted recently in a speech, because he loves riffing these things like he's Don Rickles in his rally, he literally identified another problem with it. He literally said, we're going to build a wall so tall, there'll be no way to get over the wall unless you have like a ladder. Which, yeah, bro, that's one of the issues. And not to stereotype, but it's not like Mexican people don't have ladders.
Right.
Whenever I need to borrow a ladder, I call one of my Mexican friends, and he's like, you want a 6 foot, 8 foot, or a 10
Mexicans
foot?
don't need ladders. I got my roof worked on, and they got on the roof without ladders.
There you
Wow.
go.
How the
Just a
fuck did you
trampoline.
guys get
Fire
on-
them up.
Yeah.
So it's just an ineffective
So
thing,
how-
and
what
it's
would you
meant
do
to rile
about-
up the base. And also, not to mention, if you build a wall, the huge uptick you're going to have in people trying to cross the border by catapulting into America, like Angry Birds. And you'll be just walking by the border, all of a sudden you hear, "Ay, Dios
See,
mío!"
you need to do more of
What
that.
was
Ben,
that?
See, Ben, this is what you need more of. Be honest, I'm going to vote for you.
Yeah.
The way you just said Angry Birds, you need
Yeah.
to, because it's
I need
too
more jokes in this shit.
Yeah, too serious, man.
I know, but look, here's the thing. I started being funny. Here's the catch-22, and I love the advice, but help me solve it, because I'm a comedian running, and the first 5 questions everybody asks me is, "Are you serious? Are you serious? Are you serious?" So if I'm cracking jokes every 2 seconds saying
No,
Angry
but
Birds,
at the same time,
people are going to say I'm not
you
serious.
do sound a little bit like a politician.
I
because-
get it, but I have to. I have this
I
big.
disagree.
Come on.
I
Well,
disagree.
I mean,
he doesn't. He
not-
sounds like a well-educated American. He doesn't sound like a politician.
All right, not okay, but
You
I know
he-
Ben
I've
Gleib.
cussed several times in
I
this
know, but
podcast.
Yeah, he's speaking
you know how,
from the
look,
heart.
I've seen
He's
you
not
back,
polished.
like back when you were a player, right? Back in your day.
very relatable.
I used to
I'm not
see.
a player. I just crush a lot.
Okay, back in the day when you used to get girls way out of your league.
Yeah,
By the way,
well,
they
that's
were
fact.
almost all out of your league.
That's a fact.
Okay, it was because of your charm.
Uh-huh.
So far, while I agree with your points, most of them at least, but your charm isn't there.
I agree with that.
You got.
And I've been
Look,
getting that note from a lot of my friends who know me, which
Yeah.
is a really important note because you know what I am capable of. But it's something I'm struggling with because of this legitimacy gap that I need to prove to people
okay,
how
but you have a
serious I am.
.000 chance of winning. Plus
Point
point-
zero
point-
zero
point one.
zero?
Point one. You have a less
I'm
than
one
1%.
of 24 candidates.
Okay, you have a less than 1% chance of winning.
Less than 1%, I agree.
And I want you to win.
Yeah.
All right. But what's gonna make you separate from everybody else?
Yeah.
Is that you're Ben Gleib, okay?
I know it.
And you're the man, and you're funny, and you can bang chicks out of your league if you wanted to, okay? And you can have fun with it, and you're the life of the party,
Mm-hmm. Right.
and you're an improviser, and you're a host, and so far.
I hear you, but I came on your podcast and I thought we would keep it a lot lighter. And all you were doing, specifically you, was grilling me on every issue and then with follow-ups that are very serious.
Because
So,
I want to. Well, I know, but you have to be able to answer these questions
in a funnier way while being serious.
Yes.
I need to work on the comedy in these points. I don't disagree with you.
Well,
He
Hunter,
wants to be your Kellyanne Conway, is what I think. He wants to be your press secretary.
I don't want to. I want him to win. Look, Ben Gleib is a friend of mine, and I support him, and I think he'd be a great president. Honestly,
Thank you,
way
man.
better
So
than
what
the
is
guys.
what is your?
But
I
you
need
got-
more shit like instead of saying I want to bring humanity to our immigration problem, I need to say I think it's great that we like to eat cage-free eggs, but I believe in cage-free children. I
Great.
need funnier
That's
ways of
to the
phrasing it.
point, and people are going to remember that.
You're right.
And also the Angry Birds catapulting.
You're
Like
right.
that stuff, and like even I'm going to have
I need
babies.
to sit down and write some more.
I'm going to have babies take care of babies. Obviously,
That
you
one's
know-
a silly one.
Okay, that was a silly
That
one,
was
but
That was
a joke,
funny,
just a
though.
joke.
But you get to the point. You get the point. You're because right now you're not coming across as a comic. You're coming across as like a serious dude that wants. I get it.
I need people to believe that I could be a serious leader at the same time.
Yeah, but they're not going to believe it.
I want to
unless
know
you
where you
separate
stand
yourself
on
from the pack.
banging chicks out of your league.
What's that?
I want to know what your political stance is on banging chicks out of your league because
I
Adam
believe
mentioned that. Like, are you going to set
so much
something
of
up
what
that there should
America
be a
is.
hot chick in every ugly pot?
No, I just believe that it's a great analogy for the aspiration of our country is that we believe we can shoot beyond our means. That's what capitalism is. And that's why I still believe in capitalism. It's the belief that you're going to be able to do better than your parents did. That you're going to be able to get to that next level and outshoot what people expected of you. And getting girls interested in you that are way beyond your league is a great example of being able to do that.
But you're also a
Should
guy.
that be
also,
on your campaign slogan?
That should
Ben
be
Gleib,
that should
I
be
bang chicks out
the
of my
headline
league.
slogan. That should be the top slogan.
But seriously, I mean, but you're also a guy that you have a belief in yourself like nobody else. Like you told me, you're like, man, when your special came out, you're like, I think this is one of the best specials of all time, and you weren't fucking around. Like
Yeah.
you really believed that, and it was a
Yeah.
great special,
Thanks,
hilarious. But you are one of these dudes that like have that type of LeBron James belief in himself that you can take over the game at any time.
If I get to the debate stage, should I take white chalk and just throw it in the air in front of everybody? That'd be pretty
you should.
solid.
That would be. That's what. Of course, you should.
That would be hilarious.
gotta- you
People are
gotta-
gonna think it's anthrax, though. They're gonna think it's
You gotta get
anthrax.
people on board,
They're gonna
right?
send the
Okay.
Well, but now let's be funny for a few more minutes. People know I'm funny. This is important.
Okay.
Let's riff for a couple more minutes before
Yeah.
we end this shit. I'm hilarious. People, believe me.
Yes.
I'm one of the funniest comedians ever. I mean, how good would the White House Correspondents' Dinner be, man?
I think you'd be great.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Nikki, what's going on with
You
you?
decided to just not be on that mic again, huh? You just
I gotta feed the baby.
No, you don't
Adam
necessarily
has
have to
his
be baby
baby
during
here.
the podcast, but it's one way to go about
The
it.
babysitter canceled today.
What?
The babysitter canceled
Oh,
today.
it's a bummer.
So I had to like. Now, Nikki.
Yes.
Nikki was in a bad mood last night.
Was it a baboon?
Oh,
You were
yeah, a
inside a
bad
baboon?
mood.
I was
in a
attacked
baboon.
at the
Wow.
Six Flags Safari Zone.
Yeah, he
by
was in
a
a bad
baboon.
mood. He was
Well,
like
at the time,
and when he's in a bad mood, his voice gets super deep. He's like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
Adam has a thing that I get very butch when I get serious.
What happened last night?
Well, okay, so my landlord keeps calling me her son and kissing me, and she'd be like, my son, my son, my son. Then she asked me for the rent a week early. So that set me off. I had my balls in the knot last night.
Really?
She thinks
Yeah.
you're her
Why-
mom. Why don't you just borrow the money from her?
There you
I'm
go.
gonna try that.
Why is she
Ben.
even
Bleep,
charging you
punchline.
rent?
Exactly.
Why does she want that? She can't ask for the rent.
I know.
early.
This is the second month in a row.
Did
So
she
I
get
was,
a drug
I was
problem?
annoyed. I needed a
Is she-
Midol last night.
she
So
got a
hopefully
drug-
with your healthcare plan, I'll be able to get some at a very low rate.
Isn't Midol meant mostly for menstruation pains?
I have no idea, Ben. Okay, it was an attempt at a joke.
It was
Yes.
a good one. It was a great one.
Thank you, Ben.
I loved it. I love
But
jokes that are better
to
later.
go back to you, but to go back to what everybody's saying about you, I can relate to you on that. No, because I've not to your scale of being present, but I've been in certain situations too where I felt the fear that people won't take me seriously
Right.
in a sense because I'm a comic, and it's something
Right.
obviously, like I said, not to the scale of running for president, but how do you deal with that? Do you? I mean, because that would kind of drive me to go a little crazy.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, I mentioned it off air, but I don't mind mentioning it on air. I asked Joe Rogan if he'd have me on the podcast, and he even, who was a comedian himself, said he didn't think a comedian would be taken seriously running for president. And I'm like, but a comedian just won in the Ukraine. He's like, I don't care. That it's not the Ukraine, it's America. I'm like, okay, but do you want to know anything about my campaign? He's like, no, no one's going to take it seriously. I'm like, well, why not? You don't know anything about my campaign. Why don't you have this debate with me on your podcast? You could help expose my campaign to people who could might be interested in hearing about it. He's like, you're a comedian. I go, you're a comedian too. People take you pretty seriously.
Yeah.
He's become the destination for people that want to be taken seriously. They want to clear the record about things. So it's just so weird to me that even comics are skeptical sometimes about the idea of a comic doing serious things. When why? Why is that? We turn to comedians for our news for decades now, right? People turn to Jon Stewart and trust Jon Stewart for the news, and John Oliver and Samantha Bee more than they do news anchors, because they know that the news media distorts and lies, and comedians don't. They keep shit real. Comedy clubs are the last bastion of truth in our society, so why wouldn't we think of comedians the same way for our leaders? They're truth tellers. Washington's known for lying. Stop hiring liars. If you want liars, vote for any of the other people. But why not consider comedians more seriously? It's mind-boggling to me.
Now, in a lot of these comedy clubs, you know, they don't
I'm not
have
saying you should have liked Adam Hunter, but I'm saying
Now, what did your what did your parents say about this?
my parents originally were not so in favor, because I don't think any parents want their son being exposed to the scrutiny that comes with it. It's the only job in the world where you try to get it and millions of people try to stop you. No one else tries to cock block you from any job ever except president. People are actively like, let's make up lies about him. Let's attack him. They weren't on board, but once they saw the campaign rolling, there's such supporters. Now all their friends are offering to volunteer with the campaign. It's pretty amazing.
The military, should we be in Iran? Well, what's your stance on that?
Right back to all the serious shit. Look at this. He wants me to be funny.
Well, I want
I
you to
think-
be fun, answer these questions in a charming,
Okay,
funny way.
Got it. I have 2 Persian ex-girlfriends, and I used to fuck them for years. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue with my same aggressive stance towards the Iranians. Look, I think that we should not be casually trying to escalate war. Trump just guesses and checks his thing. He's like, Bolton suggested I send carrier ships to Iran. I did it. Next day, he's like, we might go to war. I'm like, whoa, bro. Nobody mentioned that. I thought we were just going on a little cruise. And instead, they all of a sudden have their guns drawn, didn't know, didn't realize.
Hilarious.
So I feel like we should maybe have a policy. We made a flawed deal with the Iran deal. It was still a deal, and they weren't developing weapons because of it. And now they are again starting to develop weapons and breach the agreement. And so that ain't good. You're going to replace a plan. I like when Trump talked tough to Iran recently when he was tweeting, you better stop saying death to America, okay, or you will sorely regret it. I agree. A country shouldn't be saying death to America. That ain't bro talk. That ain't friend talk.
Now, are
But-
you going to be tweeting to Trump?
Oh, yeah, I already am.
Now, is it getting
Was
any
that
traction?
exchanged?
I just
how's
turned
that
on
exchange been?
alerts on my phone whenever he tweets, just a day ago. So I'm like on top of my reactions hopefully I'll catch him when he's still on Twitter. It's just been a couple days. I've been tweeting toward him, at him directly, but I did create a fake Trump tweet account about a year ago that Twitter actually disabled, but it was really fun for a while. It was for real Donald Trump, and I was just like exaggerating his tweets 5%, and they were so ridiculous. They're already so dumb that like 5% tweak made it sound like a comic book character. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
No, I gotta ask because I like you, and I don't want to, and
That's very.
I'm like an Italian mother, so I'm a warrior.
Great.
Now, Kathy Griffin, she had a whole issue, obviously, with the Trump photo, and it was a little different because she took that photograph. But she, to this day, goes to comedy clubs where there's not a lot of security, and she's getting death threats. She has people to throw bottles at her. Are you afraid? Do you feel like are you gonna have to max up your security a little bit?
Maybe, but I'm not afraid. I've never lived my life in an afraid way. Hopefully, there's an old saying that if you're going to speak the truth, you better make them laugh or they'll kill you. So hopefully I'll just keep making them laugh. I will take Adam's note more to heart, and I'll try to bring more levity to these things.
I just think it's what separates you from everybody else.
No, it's true.
I
That's
mean,
a good point.
Nobody else is gonna have the jokes.
It's true.
Right,
I just
Dean?
hope that people are able to see the seriousness
No, I'm
through
serious.
the jokes.
I mean, Dean's Dean does comedy now.
Do you
I've
really?
started. Yeah, he's my comedy mentor. He's been helping me.
He's
That's
totally
your first
fucked.
mistake. So
Right. So, you got any spare time to write jokes, man?
sure,
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay.
I'm not even writing jokes for my own campaign, but I'm going to write your jokes. Absolutely.
Adam, you're fired.
Adam is my political advisor. I'm running for the class president
I
of my
love
middle
that.
school.
You going to put soda in the water fountain?
Yeah.
Awesome. It's a key move. People really enjoy
Now, are you
that.
gonna make any gay jokes toward the mayor?
No.
Oh,
I'm not going to make gay jokes towards the mayor. I'm going to make jokes about his youth and inexperience. He's 37. Can you imagine we're at a place in our lives, Adam, where we're older than the mainstream presidential candidates? It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
You have a child in your lap.
It's crazy, right? Did you ever think
I've seen you with child in your lap many times before, and it was on purpose, and you were sometimes paying them.
Of course.
But they were
I'm not really
18.
sure what that even means.
I don't know,
but,
strip club, people are there 18, 19, stripper joke. I don't really know.
Now, what do you think about condoms in porn?
I'm not the biggest fan of that. I feel like constant testing is a very good move there, and keeping it, but it's kind of ruins the fantasy a little bit.
Whenever I see a condom in porn, I'm just like, okay,
It ruins
he's
it, right?
got herpes or something, or
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he woke up, he's got a sore on his dick, and it's awful.
I
What do you
like
think
it.
about Adam? Because I know you're a big porn star enthusiast. What is your?
Yeah, I think. Well, I think they should be required to be tested, but not to wear
Right.
condoms.
Right.
I automatically think the worst. Like,
Yeah, like I think the girl's way dirtier. It's like
It's
if
just
a girl,
not a sexy look.
No, it's like if a girl wants to blow you with a condom on, you're like, that's the dirtiest girl in the world.
That happened to me once. No, wasn't that. It was the inexperience in my case, and it just was the worst experience. Doesn't feel good
You
at
put a
all.
condom on, a girl
No.
blew you.
Yeah, and it just sounded like a tire factory. It was like it was like, honestly, it sounded like there was an emergency in a tire factory. It was fun for nobody. It must have tasted just all rubber for her. It was not great.
Yeah.
Can you put the first half of this podcast in the beginning? I mean, the end podcast, so people know that I have a comedic side to me. Well, I was making fun of your foul ball story earlier.
That's true.
And I
People
love,
didn't know
I
me
love
then.
we're talking
Well,
about
you're on here
porn
because we
and
know you're
blowjobs
funny.
with
Thank you,
rubbers,
Ben.
and there's like
Come
a little
on.
girl over in the corner going.
Dude, meanwhile, she got a phone call the other day from a 1-year-old.
She did.
Yeah, the nanny called me because she knows our nanny. And she's like, hey, Emmett wants to talk to Violet. And I was like, no, you have to give her a pacifier or something first. Like, we're not, this is come on. What is this? It's
have to take her
ridiculous.
out.
The nanny wanted to talk to the baby on
The
the
nanny
phone.
wanted to have her baby talk to her.
Oh, the
Violet's
babies
gonna
know
make him
each
work
other?
for it.
Yeah, they're friends.
That's
So
cute.
I got a little bit protective of this.
Do you get a discount though if they're watching their own baby at the same time as watching your baby?
They should. Nannies do like partner up.
It's a Groupon deal.
Yeah. There's like Uber.
You should get a discount on that because they're basically just parenting their own child and kind of keeping an eye on your baby.
Kind of, yeah.
It should be like $5 a day for that situation.
So how long you got this girlfriend for?
We've been dating over a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kids? You guys want kids? Just
We both are maybe a little bit on the fence,
yeah.
so we'll see. Truly, madly, deeply.
What did she do?
The lead singer, it says on your arm, Truly, madly, deeply, Tory.
Yeah.
The lead singer of that song, big supporter of my campaign.
I didn't know.
Darren Hayes.
It came from a movie.
Oh.
Truly, madly, deeply.
Oh, really?
That I put on
I'm
the
talking about
tour.
that
Yeah, 'cause
song.
It was one of our
Truly, madly, deeply, do.
What is
Savage
it?
favorite. I don't know
Garden.
that song. Do you know that song?
Yeah.
Savage Garden.
What did your
Savage
girlfriend
Garden.
do?
I have to
What did
check
she
it
do?
out. I didn't know it existed.
My girlfriend is a multi-billionaire and is funding the campaign through her own money. she is a dental hygienist.
See, joke first. and
Regular
then
working girl.
There you
Yeah,
go,
good point.
boom.
Joke first, another good way I can do it. Joke
Yeah,
first,
joke
then
first,
serious.
and then get people
Smart.
laughing, and then tell them your actual
Smart,
policies.
smart.
I think it's a happy medium. I
Yeah.
think you have to fine tune it.
No, but if you get people, I did a podcast one time with a guy. And
I
he's
think
like-
you'll find it.
And I was asking him all these serious
Well,
questions.
I've already done 40 podcasts, so I'm glad that now
No,
I'm
you
thinking
gotta
about
make
this.
people
Oh,
laugh. He goes,
boy.
make me laugh, and you can ask me anything.
You'll find it when it matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On
During
the debate
during
stage,
the
I'll,
debates.
I'll be funny. I
So
promise.
what's next for you? Like, what are your next?
No, I'd rather have you run the country well. I'm just saying, in order for you to get elected,
Right, on the
you're gonna
debate
have-
stage, not in my inauguration speech. In the debates, I'll throw some humor in
So
there.
who's gonna be? Steve Hofstadter's in your Secretary of State.
Steve Oster is my press secretary. He's
Oh,
handling
okay.
a lot of media requests and responding to media things and helping us get the
Nice.
word out there.
That's cool.
Because he's great, and he's great at getting the message out and diffusing haters, so it's perfect.
There you go.
And what's your plan for the next month? Like what? Like just give us a breakdown of like what your plans
So
are.
we're trying to qualify for the debates, and then we hopefully will get on to the debate stage for all the upcoming debates. And then if we do, that's great. We'll get a ton more donations coming in. People can donate once again at gleib2020.com.
You
Even
gotta
a
do something
dollar
crazy
counts.
though, man. You gotta like.
GLEIB
You gotta get the word
2020.com.
out. You gotta crash something, or you gotta.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask your advice since we're doing a workshop on the air about my campaign. So we did the democracy challenge. Hofstadter just released a video where he's encouraging people to donate $1 to see if our democracy is real and see if indeed they will let me on the debate stage.
That's pretty good.
But because it doesn't have like a funny part to it or an embarrassing part to it, it's not going viral in the way that we hope, and we need to get out to a bunch of
Steve
people.
will show his pubes to everybody.
Well, no one wants to see that. I
Alright,
feel
good
like
point.
that
I
would
know,
get
that's why
negative
they'll-
views.
that's why they'll give $1.
It would like roll backwards like the
No,
like
no,
the
do $1.
odometer in
Give you
Ferris
$1
Bueller.
to take it down.
$1
To not
or-
show his pubes?
Yeah, $1
That's
or
funny.
he shows his pubes.
So there's two other ideas that we had. Literally, I just ripped something in a take of a video that I did it where I'm like, if I get on, you guys get me on the debate stage, I'll do my Trump impression in the debates. And this one guy thinks that's a good idea, but I feel like if I actually put that out, people are gonna think I'm just being silly and not taking me
course.
seriously.
Yes,
Yeah.
And so, but he's like, but people are gonna we're targeting people with this ad and with this video that are not politically minded, and they're gonna want that. But I'm like, I don't think I can say that and still be taken seriously. So then I had another idea. If we're trying to bring somebody with an outside voice into the office, the democracy challenge could be use your outside voice. Go any place where it's inappropriate to shout out
People
loud.
get arrested for that.
What's that?
People start getting arrested because of you.
Can they?
It seems like yelling
For what?
crazy
Going to
shit.
like a bus bench and saying like, I want health care, or going into a coffee shop and being like, I want to make sure abortion's protected. That could be a cool viral video challenge. You'd be arrested for that?
I don't think you'd be arrested for that.
That'd be kind of annoying though.
Annoying. Fine.
Annoying,
It's
but it
all
doesn't matter
online
as long as it
things
goes
are
viral.
annoying.
And
I'm trying to think of what the angle would be. It's whatever thing you think I should do,
get
you
you the
guys
most
think I should do.
awareness.
What?
To get you the most awareness.
Yeah, to get the word out immediately in these next 2 weeks. How do I get
maybe
the
you
word
should,
out to
you
everybody?
should start doing shows at the dime too. So
Yeah. I'm trying to think. That's a good question. What could he do to get the most awareness for his campaign? Like my first thing is like, okay, so like Stuttering John, like prank called the president, and then he was on CNN and everything. It, like that kind of went viral. So if you do something like that, then everyone will at least will know. Oh, this is President.
But then he has the issue too of not being taken seriously.
Yeah, they-
Every time that the president calls another world leader, they're being prank called.
Yeah, that's funny.
Well, what do you
I don't know,
need to
sex
get
sells,
to the
man.
Maybe we could get you to
debate stage?
SeaWorld and you just set the whales free. Just ride up the Atlantic, painted on the side of Shamu, Gleib 2020.
That's
I
funny.
like it, Nikki.
Yeah.
I like
That's
it.
not bad.
It's
Sit
easy
right on
and
the
it's
blowhole.
easy to
Setting
do.
them free, you really have to think that plan one step forward, because you just set them free and they just end up on the cement of SeaWorld.
Yeah, we can
Right.
do that.
Next
Well,
to a bunch of plush SeaWorld dolls.
Okay, fine. I'll get like a crane that'll carry it out to
Great.
sea, and then you'll just sail
I
out.
need a chopper, I think, actually.
Whatever
How
you need,
How
Ben.
about you
I
have
got
to
you.
kiss somebody of the opposite race or another race? Like
That's not controversial anymore.
like
What about his girlfriend?
What? No, just not you. I'm saying like something where like, hey, today's
Microphone's to your
like,
right there.
because like sex sells, right? But when it's something where it brings everyone together. So
In a presidential campaign.
yeah, so like you make out with a black girl day or something, or like make out with an Asian girl,
Or
or
your transgender
and then,
friend,
and then
your-
after you make out, you go democracy rules or something.
I
It's like,
kissed Doug Stanhope on his podcast the day I announced the campaign. I did Stanhope's podcast.
You made out with him.
We kissed on the lips at the end of the podcast.
That's
I love
that,
Stanhope.
that's
We did not
good.
make
Now you have
out.
herpes. So like
He's a good man, Doug Stanhope.
he is a good man.
He's a great
guy.
I think he's a great.
So what are we?
man,
I don't
great
know. It's a good
stand-up.
question though. It's a very good question.
Yeah, all of your ideas so far are really bad, so we need other ones.
But sex does sell, no?
Sex does sell.
You just suggested I make out with a black girl. Was your suggestion?
No, I'm not
This is
saying
your
you.
idea.
I'm saying look,
Encourage somebody else.
Encourage somebody.
I have a revolutionary idea. Make out with a black girl.
No, but the
What is this,
black girl-
1940?
A black girl make out with a white guy, or like it's just bringing everyone together. Just like like nut on someone else.
So you'd like
you
a
know,
viral
something like
compilation
together.
makeout video?
the come together challenge. Where
Wow.
I remember earlier I wanted this part of the podcast earlier in the podcast.
Yeah, not anymore.
Now maybe
Not
we just
anymore.
cut it out and just
how about make
put it in the vault.
How about like when someone's orgasming, they yell out "Gleib for president."
2020.
So funny. I have a foreign policy meeting that started 5 minutes ago, and I have to go.
I don't know, man.
Thanks a lot, Adam.
Okay, Dean, you've offered nothing to his fucking challenge.
I what?
You've offered nothing to his challenge so far. What
I had the whales,
what's your
Dean.
idea?
Go with the lions.
I offered
at
him.
the San
I
Diego
offered
Zoo.
him. You didn't hear me because you were on your rant about
Go on.
coming together. Is kissing a transgender? What was your friend?
Laganja.
Laganja
From Drag Race.
Make out
Laganja's
with
a
Laganja.
celebrity.
Laganja, yeah, she's got a big
Think
following.
that'll catch on?
Guys, how about this challenge? If I get enough donations to get the debate stage, Adam Hunter will pledge to speak on the mic for one
that's good. I
episode
like that.
where he
That's
actually is
we
audible.
can get behind that. We can get behind that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know when this is airing, so I don't know how to tell you the
All right.
answer about
I
like
think
what
we're good.
threshold or what. But
After
we,
June 10th, so
so
we
need
can go
we
on
need
our
we
accounts
need
now
a
and do
ton
what we
more.
can.
Thank you so much. And we just need tons more people donating, even just $1 at Gleib2020.com. So
I'm
I
gonna
can make the
donate, Ben,
threshold.
as soon
Thank
as
you.
we're wrapped.
Yes.
As
I'm-
much as
I'm
you can
gonna
afford
donate,
would be
absolutely.
amazing because we need a lot of money to run the campaign. So the limit's $2,800 per person or $5,600 per couple. But even $1 counts as a donation. That's what we most urgently need. We also need money to be able to get the word out to more people and put out ads and all these things. So if you have more, please do reach deeper and give more. But at least $1 counts as a donation, and we need many, many more thousands of that to make it onto the debate stage and get an outside voice. At least this early in the race, in this conversation, in this debate. There's a year and a half plus till the election. You have time to hear everybody, but don't you want it to be some voice in there that's not just career politicians or super wealthy people? Let's
'Cause you're
bring
of the
some other
people.
voices. I'm one of the people, man. I'm a person.
Well,
Adam's putting his baby toys away
I'm
during the
all-
podcast. It's so audible. It's
It's
unbelievable.
so professional too. Well, Ben, I am behind you 100%.
Thank
I will
you, Dean.
donate,
Thank you.
and
Yeah.
I promise you we will get on our social.
Thank you.
And Ben, if you
interwebs
win,
and put
just
out the
think
word.
about
Thank you so much.
think about putting me on a $20 bill. Just think about it. I think that I have
Oh
great
my
hair.
God, my foreign policy meeting is just
Yeah.
gone into DEFCON
He's
5.
got to go.
Even a
He's
penny,
gotta
nickel.
go.
I can be like
Can I
next
go into
Susan
the
B. Anthony.
situation room immediately, please? I need to get out of here.
Well, Ben, thank you so much for being a guest.
Thank you for having me
I really
on.
wish you the best of luck. You
Thank
are
you.
a very funny man.
Intelligent,
very
too.
intelligent man.
Sure.
Thank you.
Very relatable.
Thank
and,
you.
I would love to see you in the office. You
I
got
so
my vote.
appreciate it. Thank you so much,
Thank
Dean.
you,
I really
Ben.
appreciate it, bud. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Hunt.
Thank you, man.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening
you.
to Daddy Issues. You'll be hearing from us soon. Thank you.